Good morning. Oh, we're now in the month of November, and apart from cleaning up the vegetable garden, it's a great month to do some seed collecting. For example, collect seeds of your favorite native wildflowers. Certain trees have their seeds ready, and you can also collect seeds of certain other perennial plants that grow, that come back every year. This is the perfect time to collect them and also to plant them. So this morning I'm going to be collecting some native perennial wildflowered seeds and a few other perennial plants and trees, seeds of those. And then a little bit later in the video I'm going to show you how I plant those right away in the fall. Because rather than collecting the seeds, keeping them indoors, trying to figure out how to store them so they don't decompose or so on, and cold stratifying and so on, when to do that, etc. Planting inside, moving outdoors. Rather than doing all of that, I'm just going to plant them now in the fall, and I'll let the winter do all of that work. Let nature do all that work for me. That's how we do things here at Willow's Green Permaculture. We use nature as guide. It's a lot easier. It works really well, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the video. But right now I'm going to start doing some seed collecting. So for instance, right here we have some purple coneflower. So I'm going to take a few of these seed heads. Most of them, as you can see, I will leave up all winter so that the birds can come and have something to eat during the winter, and other little animals. So we leave these up all winter for the animals. I'm just going to collect a few seed heads, because just with a couple of seed heads here, we have a whole bunch of seeds. All these little spikes are seeds. I also have here, so that was purple coneflower. I also have here some liatris spikes here. Okay, there are 3 of them. I'm going to take one, leave the other 2 for the animals. So this is a spike of liatris, very beautiful native wildflower. And this is full of hundreds and hundreds of seeds. And also I have here a perennial vegetable. I have some seed heads of some garlic chives. So here I've got dozens and dozens of seeds in here, which I'm going to collect and plant a little bit later so I can have some more garlic chives next year. Garlic chives are great to have in the contour, along with the purple coneflower on the outside of the vegetable garden, because they help to protect the vegetable garden from certain animals. And I also have here some native evening primrose, a whole big bush of it right here. So I'm going to collect one of these stems, and it's full of all sorts of dried seed heads, and each one is full of seeds. So you just take one out and you pull, and then the seeds just pour out of there. As you can see, there is a few seeds in my hand here. So these are a few, and I'm going to go elsewhere and collect some more native wildflower seeds. Here I have a little bit of very few seed heads left, but this was cardinal flower. So I'm going to collect a few of these, and very carefully collect these. I'm going to put these in a jar, because there are probably not too many seeds left in these, because these bloomed probably in August and dried and so on, and so lots of the seeds have probably fallen. Well, I've got a little jar here. I've got a jar full of hackberry seeds, but they're quite large, so I don't mind mixing the 2 types together. I'm just going to pour these seed heads in there so I can keep I saw a few seeds there. Keep all of those cardinal flower seeds. I love cardinal flower. This is a fairly damp area right here, and that's what cardinal flower likes. This is our rain garden here, and in fact right on the other side, right behind me here, is where I'm going to be sowing some of those seeds. I'm going to be sowing in the ground some seeds, and I'm going to be sowing in pots others. You can sow your perennial seeds in pots in the fall, and then just protect the pots either by burying them or by surrounding them with leaves or wood chips or straw to keep them warm during the winter time. Also, right here behind me, right here, we have some seeds of New England aster. This is a very important plant here. We're very close to Lake Ontario here, and New England aster is one of the last flowers that are in bloom in the fall. For example, all through September and October. And so they're one of the last flowers that are available to the monarch butterfly before she does her trip down to Mexico for the winter. So she stocks up on all of her nectar from the New England aster at the end of September. That's around when we see her leave, the end of September. And she takes off along Lake Ontario, goes all along Lake Ontario and then along Lake Erie, and then crosses south at Point Pelee in southern Ontario, and then heads towards Mexico. So I like to have lots of New England aster in my garden. So I'm going to plant these a little bit later as well. And I'm going to collect some more seeds. Here behind me, I have something that is related to the cardinal flower. It's called great blue lobelia. The great blue lobelia bloomed later than the cardinal flower, so its seed heads, there's still quite a few left on the branch. So I'm just going to take these and put them in my pail. I don't worry too much about separating these seeds because I'm just going to be mixing them all up when I plant them. There you go. The last seeds I'm going to collect for the moment are seeds from this tree. This is a honey locust, a native from this area. It's a beautiful, beautiful tree. I love this tree very much because in the autumn it becomes a very bright yellow and it just lightens up the whole area. And if you look up in the branches, you can see some bean pods. So the seeds are in there. I'm not going to take those. I'm going to take the ones that have already fallen to the ground. And there are a few around here. I can see there's one over there, there's one here, and there's one right here. And so these, because they've fallen to the ground, it means that they're ready to be planted. They're ready to perhaps be maybe munched on by some animals, or maybe some squirrels might take them and bury them, and or maybe they'll just eventually start decomposing right here right here. Bonjour midi. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of there are seeds inside the bean pod. I'm going to take some out, but I'm also going to, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just take a piece of bean pod and I'll plant the whole thing with the seeds inside, as if it was, that's what happened right here where it fell. I'll plant some in pots and I'll plant some in the ground. And also I will open up the bean pod and I will take a few of the seeds out as well. They're very small, but I like to keep them inside. But as you can see, here's one of the seeds from inside. And I see Midi would like to try one of these seeds. So there you go. That's the honey locust tree. So here's one of the spots in my, this is what we call our rain garden here, because this area just behind here, it's dug down a little bit. It fills with water when we have some big rains. And so, which means it gives us a nice source of water very close to our vegetable garden behind me, about several meters behind me here. And so what I'm going to plant here are plants that like a rain garden situation. So we've got the purple coneflower, we've got the New England aster, we have the liatris, we have the great blue lobelia, and inside this jar we have the cardinal flower seeds that I collected as well earlier. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to just drop them on top of the soil and then move the soil around, and I'm going to mix them all up, because that's how it is in nature. We like to imitate nature, imitate biodiversity. That's how we observe the plants. They do best. And so I'm just going to get started. And you see what happens is, so I'm just gonna take these and just crush them and let the seeds fall out on top of the soil, just like that. This is so much easier than collecting the seeds, putting them in baggies or jars and so on, putting them in the fridge, in the freezer, sowing them indoors somewhere in January where you need some light or maybe no light, cover them or maybe not cover them, make sure they don't go moldy, etc. It's really complicated. We prefer, and basically what the idea there is, when you take seeds and bring them inside, the seeds of perennial flowers, is you have to cold stratify them. That means you have to put them in the fridge or in the freezer or something. You have to make sure they get some cold in order for them to germinate. However, the best way to do that is to have nature do it for you. So, being November, we're taking these seeds, for example, this New England aster, and I'm just gonna plant it right here, and it's gonna be here all winter in the soil. And the winter will take care of cold stratifying it, because it's gonna be cold, it's winter. And it's gonna get the moisture, and it's gonna get the snow, and it's going to get the dry weather too, so it's going to have that variety, which is also going to help break down the seeds so that it eventually germinates. And the other thing, however, the other reason why it's complicated doing it indoors is because there's an element that's missing indoors, and that's this: the natural soil. You'll often have people tell you to plant things in soilless mediums. But the thing is, one of the things that's going to help a seed germinate is the action of all of the microbiota in the soil, all of the little tiny creatures that are present in the soil. There are millions and millions right here in my hand, in this soil here. The actions of all of those little tiny beings that will be attracted to these seeds and either want to maybe try and eat them, or maybe use them as habitat, or use them as a hiding place, whatever, you name it. The fungus as well, they're going to act on these seeds, and all of those actions will, once again, because these seeds are native seeds, they're adapted to all of this. This is what helps them germinate. This is what helps them germinate better. So it's so much easier. Look, all I'm doing is poof, throwing these on the ground, poof, throwing them on the ground like that. And look, here's the liatris, okay? Just do like this, poof, and then it's done, you're finished, okay? And I'm just gonna take this, oh, I still have the cardinal flower, so take some of that. Got a few of these hackberry seeds, but I'm not gonna put those in there. I'm gonna plant those later somewhere else. So yeah, here's the cardinal flower seeds as well. There you go. Put those in there. And then just take the soil, move it around so that the plants are the seeds are slightly under the surface of the soil. And there it is. That's all there is to it. You're done. I'm also going to show you how I do this in pots if you prefer. Now, another important thing would be to put a stake in here with all the names of the flowers. I don't really need it here. I'm just going to watch them grow. But in my pots, I'm going to do that. Identify the flowers, because when you're planting them outdoors, they might get lost in everything else. So if you don't want to lose, if you don't want to forget where you planted them, then put some nice stakes, at least 50, 60 centimeters high, some recycled wood or something like that that you can get. and for free sometimes, and put your labels so that you don't lose your plants. And there you go. So here's one of the spots where I've planted a whole bunch of different native wildflowers in pots. And I've got them surrounded by compost and straw for the winter. And I'm going to add some leaves a little later on in a week or two at the most. Got some blue vervain here, some prairie smoke, got some clammy ground cherry, some trees too. We've got some hackberry in here, got some great blue lobelia. So it's all nicely protected. Over here we have some more. We have some cardinal flower, more great blue lobelia, some liatris. Here I've already started putting the leaves on the pots to protect them. Once again, surrounded by compost and straw. Got some blue flag iris, some sweet oxeye, some red bud, some Virgin's Bower. All of these are in pots. They're going to be protected during the winter, and I'll be able to plant them where I want. Probably I will transplant them next fall, but I could transplant them during the spring or summer as well. And here is the last spot beside one of our shelters. We've got a bunch of pots, and where I'm going to be planting some with you in just a moment. So we have a bunch of different flowers here. Some black-eyed Susan, some senna, some sage, some angelica, more liatris, some Ohio buckeye, and so on. Some narrow-leaf coneflower and so on. So now I'm going to plant some red bud seed. And there's a native shrub. Beautiful, one of my favorite shrubs. Very beautiful flowers in the spring. And I'm going to plant them in 5 of these pots right here. So I'm going to put about three seeds in each pot. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Actually, there's too much soil in this pot, so I'm going to move it over to this. Put on top of the seeds I just planted. Okay, not too much of a thick layer. Take some of the soil, put it on top of these seeds that I just planted. There, that's good. Move this around. So I've planted in 3 pots. Still got 2 more to do. So 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 2, 3. There you go. That's it. And just move the soil around. And once again, I'm going to be surrounding these pots with leaves, some more compost maybe, protect them, and then from the cold in the winter, and then we'll be ready for the spring. If you don't have a whole lot of compost, leaves will do, or wood chips if you can get free wood chips from an arborist. We often get arborists that come and deliver us some free wood chips from trees they have to cut down. And so yeah, or leaves. Leaves work really well as well. Or another thing you can do is simply bury your pots. If you prefer to plant your perennials in pots rather than directly in the ground, then you can plant them in pots and bury the pots to keep them a decent temperature during the winter. Or, once again, surround them with leaves to keep them warm. So now I've covered all of the pots in a nice layer of leaves, which I will remove in the spring when it's time for these plants to start sprouting. Early spring. It's still cold, but when the plants will begin to start sprouting, some of them. Others will wait until a little later. Here's one of the other sections. Nice and covered with leaves now. Keep nice and a decent temperature in the winter. Normal winter conditions in the forest when leaves fall, and cover the plants that are on the ground just starting. And here's the last section where I'd put pots, all surrounded with leaves now, so they've got compost around them, straw and leaves. I like to put the leaves out on a rainy day or a day of wet snow so that the leaves get nice and wet, so that on future windy days they don't go flying in the wind, because once they're wet like this they kind of stick together. That's why I have to remove them in the spring when it's time for the plants to start growing, because they'll have a rough time growing through all of this. It's loose, but when they get wet like this, they form a sort of a carpet, so you have to remove them. That's some fall sowing, fall seed collecting and fall sowing. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, then don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to all my videos so you can see how you can do some gardening using nature as guide.